We all know that when it comes to fake news, Trump is king, right? Remember, COVID's just the flu, the invented hurricane paths, the alternative facts in regards to his crowd sizes. But now the Harris campaign looks like it might be dabbling in its own fake news, actually, thanks to what it's doing with Google Ads. And this is according to Axios. The Harris campaign has been editing news headlines and descriptions within Google search ads that make it appear as if The Guardian, Reuters, CBS News, and other major publishers are on her side. Since August 3rd, nearly a dozen news companies have been used in these types of search ads from the Harris campaign, Axios found. Examples include The Independent UK, NPR, AP, The Guardian, USA Today, PBS, CNN, CBS News, Time, and local outlets like North Dakota radio stations, WDay Radio. And so we're gonna show you what they look like, but basically they have links to real articles. In fact, why don't you throw this up? They have links to real articles from news outlets, but the headlines that are supporting the text have been altered to read as though the articles support the Harris campaign objectives. So it says sponsored, but it's very, very hard to tell that it's actually not a news outlet. So some of the headlines that they've edited include things like inflation is down, VP Harris's economic vision, lower costs and higher wages, or Harris will lower health costs. And again, they're using the logo, the URL goes right to, seems like it goes to the news agency. But again, it is an ad campaign. And this is what's happened on the right-hand side of your Google search page. That's what will populate. It'll seem like it's another news article being suggested to you, but again, it's just an ad.
Hey, don't scroll away. Come back. Because before the video continues, we just want to urge you to lend your support to TYT. You power our honest reporting. You do it at tyt.com/team, and we love you for it.
It's important to know that Facebook banned this practice, which is pretty interesting to know, for advertisers to edit the text from instant article news links in their ads back in 2017, citing its, quote, continuing efforts to stop the spread of misinformation and false news. I mean, we kind of have them to thank for Donald Trump in the first place, definitely January 6th. And outlets are kind of flummoxed at this move by the Harris campaign. The Guardian spokesperson said, while we understand an organization might wish to align itself with the Guardian's trusted brand, we need to ensure it's being used appropriately and with our permission. We will be reaching out to Google for more information about this practice. And Google is happy to accept the money, right? They're like, oh, first of all, they have anti-monopolistic or monopolistic practices, anti-competitive practices when it comes to their ads broadly. But they don't have any qualms taking Harris campaign donors' money to make it look like NPR is leading with headlines like Harris will lower health costs, when I think we haven't even seen a health plan come out of the campaign. But Cenk, what did you make of this?
It's dumb. I don't know why they're doing it. I mean, I do know why they're doing it, but I think it's going to backfire and be counterproductive. So the reason they're doing it is because they think, unfortunately, accurately so, and what we've said a lot on this program over the last couple of decades and covered the news for you guys, most people only read the headlines. And so they think if we just change the headlines, mission accomplished. And so that's, if you remember, the reason I brought up a couple of decades is because if you remember the clip of me yelling about the USA Today headline, which a lot of folks remember because it was a hell of a rant, and that was about the Iraq War. And they said, well, Bush says the US safer because of Iraq War. Well, if that's all you read, you might think, oh, at least we're safer, even though just Bush made that up. And in the article, they clarified later, well, I mean, he said it, it's not necessarily true, but nobody bothers reading the article. All they do is read the headlines. And that's why Kamala Harris is doing this, or her team is doing this, but it's not worth it. Number one, I hate when they lose credibility like this. I can't stand it. And we're not, and what's gonna be even worse is when, you know that there's some people who just carry water. That's all they do. They view that as their job. So they'll have to march out here and go, no, when we do fake news, it's great. Oh, we should be doing fake news. Fake news is terrific. I don't know what you're, and then that's like deeply embarrassing and hurts you even more. And so, and especially when Trump is calling all mainstream media fake news. And remember, the reason he started that was because Trump was doing this back in 2016. They'd have whole fake articles, right? So why are you doing the same thing Trump did? It's terrible, I hate it, and the Harris team should stop immediately.
Yeah, I mean, it also makes it look like these news organizations are in the bag for Harris when they might have like a legitimate article that definitely isn't overly flowery, but it creates a narrative. I mean, in the same way that your rant discusses the Iraq War and the media consensus around that and how much credibility was lost during that time from the media. I think a lot of credibility was also lost from the mainstream news. I mean, when hasn't it been? But during the Trump rise, and then now as we're seeing, 10 months of an ongoing genocide in Gaza, and they truly turn a blind eye and make us, it's like, oh, occasionally we'll let CNN Global do a report on it. So it's just a bad look all around, even if I think for these news organizations, it might actually bolster them, right? Because they're basically giving them free ad space on the right-hand column there. Now, this has been done in other campaigns. Harris is not the first to do it. Trump hasn't been doing it this campaign cycle. But as Cenk referenced, we remember the like Macedonian teens who were just furiously writing like, Trump is Jesus, Jesus is Trump. Print, and that would just like be a news item on Facebook in 2016. So it's just, yeah, they need to, hey, how about a grassroots campaign? We don't need to do this. You're already getting positive coverage without editing the headlines to be overly, indulgent.
Yeah, so I know that if they did it to one of our videos, for example, I'd be pretty furious. If we did a nuanced video about the upsides and downsides of Kamala Harris's healthcare policy, if she had one, and then they changed the title to "Young Turks Praise Kamala Harris." Kamala Harris, great on healthcare, wonderful. I'd be like, no, we didn't say that, and that's super annoying, and it's fake, and it's just then people stop trusting you. So it's dumb in every imaginable way.
Absolutely.
If you enjoyed this video, that's because of our members. They make us independent, they make us strong, and they make us honest. Become a member today by hitting the join button below.